Welcome to this video. Today we're going to make a skateboard for Marcus. Jack and Marcus are going to help. And that's Marcus just trying out the new skateboard that he made in this video. And so we hope this will be of some use to you if you would like to build your own skateboard and ride it just like you see Marcus. This is Jack, our older helper. Jack's riding a skateboard he made probably 6 months earlier. First thing we need is this former box that we've got here. Just very basically made with a bit of 3mm ply for the base, and then just some pine strips placed along it, about 1.5 inches by 19 millimeters or 3/4, and that's the plywood there that we're using. It's just 1/8 of an inch or 3 millimeters thick, and the skateboard will also be made out of that. Just at the end of the box we've got these couple of little strips placed in there, and they're going to be used when we make the skateboard just to give the kick on the toe and the heel of the board. You can see if we place the board inside the former that the former is just made roughly about 25 millimeters either side of the skateboard, and perhaps 50 millimeters either end, make it that bit longer, so it's got plenty of room on it. The dimensions don't have to be exact. There's a lot of tolerance when we come to make the board. First thing we're going to do is just use that former then to move along our sheet of ply and mark off 4 strips. That's 4 strips of 3mm, and we're going to laminate them and bring them together. And when we do, of course, we'll have a skateboard then of about 12mm thick or 1/2 inch. Jack and Marcus are just marking out those 4 strips. Next thing we have to do, get a saw and cut through these. Being 3mm ply, very easy to cut through. We give Jack a go on the saw, just instruct him on how to use it. Nice long strokes, use all the teeth on the saw, nice and steady. Whoever's holding the strip to try and just hold it away from the saw blade a little so that it doesn't nip or jam the saw blade. Don't need to force the saw, try to let the saw do the work. Just keep it nice and steady. Jack's getting along all right there with it. Let Marcus take over and have a go. What we have when we finish that is 4 strips of ply. Just sorting out the best 2 faces of the strips that we've cut, so that we can put the best on the top and the bottom of the board. Jack's sorting that out. Other thing that we probably need to do is the edges are a little bit ragged from the saw cut, so we just run a bit of sandpaper along the edges and make sure that they're nice and clean. Now Jack's going to put the skateboard onto the top face, or what we have decided to make the top face of the skateboard, and he's going to take the pencil and trace around the skateboard profile, and so we have that on the top sheet of ply. And you can see the excess there that we've got on the end is quite considerable. And likewise on the side, probably a good 50mm on this side, 2 inches. Now the glue. We're going to put glue on all faces that come into contact with each other. Put plenty of glue on, and it's important that the glue gets spread right out along all the edges and into the corners. Completely cover the whole face of the sheet of ply with glue. Once all the sheets have been brought together, just line them up. Then get the former box, and the next thing we're going to do is screw, make sure that the sheet with the profile of the skateboard drawn on top is on the top side facing up, and we're going to take some timber screws and screw down through the sheets into the side reels. We'll start at the middle, run a couple of screws down either side into the side reels. We'll move down to the end and just make sure that it's screwed onto the end, and that the sheets are sitting nice and flat top of each other. Jack's going to take over. Keep running screws into it. Probably space the screws about 70 millimeters apart, 3 inches apart. So you need plenty of screws to go right around the exterior of the laminated boards. So you can see there how many screws we have put into it. There's quite a lot spaced all around the perimeter of the board. Now the next part of the operation, we're going to use a car wheel as a press. So what we're doing is we'll jack the car wheel up and we'll slide the former box with the laminated strips on top of it underneath the wheel. It's important to place the sheets of ply directly under the center. Get the center of the wheel right in the center of the board. When you're doing this, make sure your hands are out from underneath the former box. Don't put fingers underneath the former box. Keep them out on the top where you can see them. Don't get any part of your body underneath the car, the wheel that's jacked up, or underneath the body of the car. Just take the time to centralize it. Then we take the weight off the jack and let the wheel come down and press into the former. And we're going to leave that overnight. And as we do, that will form a nice concave shape into the board. And Marcus is just having a look at the shape of the board now, the shape of the top of it. I think he's pretty happy with it. So now we're going to remove all of the screws. So there's quite a lot of screws to take out. I think Marcus is getting the hang of it now. Next part of the job is to cut around the profile of the skateboard. Here I'm using a small jigsaw. Stay as close to the line as you can. You don't want to have to trim too much excess off the board once we've done this. That's the board. Now what we're going to do is sand down the edges of it, get them nice and smooth. We're using this belt sander or linisher. Just show Marcus how to do it. Keep it nice and horizontal so you keep that nice straight edge on it. Try not to leave the edges straight and sharp, but radius or round off the edge a little bit. Marcus is just cleaning off the surface of any marks or stains that might be on it. Just wiping the surface of the board down with a damp cloth or a wet cloth, just to get any loose sawdust or dust in general off the surface of it, ready for staining or putting some ester pol on On this board we're just going to use a stain varnish. Have to put about 3 coats on it, so you have to let it dry in between coats. I'm staining it so that it really weatherproofs it and seals the board up. But the top side won't be really seen because we're going to have to apply grip tape across the whole top surface of it. Just going to apply the grip tape. Grip tape that we've got's a little shorter than the board, so we're going to put it on the center and then put 2 small pieces on the toe and the heel of the board just to cover the complete surface. Need to apply this nice and evenly and right on the center of the board. Just trim the excess off with a good sharp knife. Now we're going to fit the trucks or the wheels. What we're doing here is we're using an old skateboard as a template, so we're just drilling down through those holes into our new board, and that will align the holes for us. Marcus, when he was using the drill, Rather than letting the drill get up to speed and do the drilling, he was actually pushing the drill through, and you might have noticed he delaminated one of the boards there. And that's not something you want to happen, but it can be fairly easily fixed. And we're obviously going to have to do something about it. We just finished drilling the holes. Now, the trucks are going to be bolted on there, which is going to, we've put a little bit of glue back into the bottom of the laminations there, and when we bolt up with the bolts for holding the trucks on, that will hold the glue in place until it dries and fixes. You can see the glue squeezing out a little bit on the side there. You just clean off that excess. So that will set okay without any problem. There's still a little bit of delamination there just on the toe of the board, and we can simply fix that. We just open up the lamination a little bit, the delamination, pour some glue into it, and then just using a bit of stiff paper here to make sure that the glue goes right down into the crack and gets spread out evenly there. And then all that's required is a clamp just placed on that and left there for a few hours, and there'll be no problem with that skateboard. Again, just clean off any excess glue which gets squeezed out of the crack. And that skateboard will be ready for use in a few hours' time. Now you're ready to start on your board. This is Marcus riding that very same board that you saw there. And he's very happy with it. Thank you for watching.